You're listening to the Meaningful Minutes with Nikki Olson podcast. This is a show for busy Latter-day Saint women who want to learn simple tools to feel confident and inspired in 10 minutes or less. Welcome. On this episode, we will discuss my actual rim-to-rim experience. All right, this is going to be a little bit different of an episode. I am just going to chat. I don't have anything sort of written out, but I wanted to talk to you guys about my experience hiking the rim to rim. If you want to watch this on YouTube rather than listen to the podcast, you'll see all the pictures as I'm talking. And that might be a fun experience, or you can listen to both. You can listen to this and then go back and watch YouTube. But I'll link the YouTube link in the show notes so that you can go watch as I'm talking about this. So I am just going to kind of walk you through the process of hiking the rim to rim and just kind of some lessons I learned along the way. But I want to start with, there's 3 other episodes before this. So this is part 4. And the other ones are talk about all the spiritual experiences that I learned along the way. And there were definitely spiritual experiences as I hiked the rim to rim. And I'll talk about those too. And I wanted to start with like the logistics of it. It's not a hike where you just go to the Grand Canyon and you hike from one side to the other. Like there's a lot in the planning of this. And we started planning for this hike back in, we decided we were going to do it October, November-ish. And then we really got the logistics pinned down in January. But when you hike it just one way, the way they recommend doing it is starting at the north rim and then hiking over to the south rim. From my house, the north rim, I live in southeastern Utah, and from my house, the north rim is 5.5 hours and the south rim is 4 hours. So it's a little bit harder to get to the north rim. Not very many people go to the north rim. In fact, there's only one lodge with a hotel and some cabins there. But if you have the chance to go there, it is beautiful. So we knew that we were going to have to stay at the north rim because we're going to have to get up super early the next day to hike. So the closest hotel from there that we would stay at was like 2 more hours. So we wanted to stay inside the park there, which is pretty pricey. So this is an investment in a goal here. But not only that, staying there, once you start hiking, it's a 4-hour drive from the north rim to the south rim. So we needed to recruit somebody to drive our cars from the north rim to the south rim. So since we were doing this as siblings and our spouses, we recruited my parents. And so they came and stayed with us. So we needed to get 4 hotel rooms, right? 4 different families. And then get just 2 cars there. And then we had to get babysitters for our kids. So our kids stayed in Blanding with my husband's parents. And then they drove down to get us because we took my parents' car and my parents' car and our car, my brother brought. Anyways, beside the point, but we had 2 cars down there. So we get down there. I have never been to the North Rim. I don't think anybody in our group had ever been to the North Rim. The lodge there is amazing. You look out, you're almost sort of hanging out over the edge and look out over the Grand Canyon, and it is beautiful. There's hardly anybody there because nobody goes to it. And we were told before, when I made the hotel reservations, to make reservations at the restaurant because there's only one restaurant there. And we had to make them in February. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a place to eat. There was kind of like a concession stand type place you could eat at, but we didn't really want to eat that right before we were hiking. Turns out this is like a fancy schmancy restaurant. Super expensive, but it was worth it to kind of eat there beforehand, have a good meal before we hiked. So we got our hotels. We got that about 2 days before the hike. I think one of my brothers looked up the weather looking at that, and it said heat warning, excessive heat warning. So it was going to be 120 degrees at the bottom of the Grand Canyon with a UV index of 150 degrees. And so it said in there to not be on a trail hiking from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., which is a huge chunk of time that we were planning on hiking. So we weren't sure how that was going to work. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to just keep hiking during that time? Are we prepared enough to do that? Will they stop you? Will they just not let you through? Like, once we get down to like Phantom Ranch, it's between Phantom Ranch and Indian Gardens. So it's about a 4 to 5 mile stretch that they really encouraged you not to be on the trail during that time because there's no water. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But so we found out about this. We're kind of worried. We're not sure. So when we get down there on Thursday evening, we go after, I think this is after we ate. We went down to the trailhead. So the trailhead where you start is about a mile to a mile and a half from where we stayed. So we wanted to see where it was because we're going to be doing it in the dark the next morning and we don't want to be driving around looking for it. Drive down there and park, and there are a couple of guys who had just finished hiking from the south rim to the north rim, and they were going to stay the night in a hotel and then hike back the next day. So they were doing rim to rim to rim in 2 days, which some people do rim to rim to rim in 1 day. When we were doing it, my husband's like, I think I want to do that. I'm like, you're crazy. I never want to do that in my whole life. So it was so good. We got to talk with them and see what their experience was like. We asked them, like, were you stopped? Were you not able to go on the trail during that 10 to 4? And they said, no, I mean, rangers are down there encouraging you not to do it, but they hiked during that time. A few of them had done it before, and they said, if you have been training and you know your limits, if you get hot, you stop, you just rehydrate, you get in the rivers and stay cool. Like, you should be able to just pace yourself. That's what they just kept saying, like, pace yourself to the way you trained, pace yourself to the way you trained. So we felt pretty confident that we could kind of go through and do that. Got some kind of advice from them, which was super helpful to kind of hear their experience in doing that. So we went back to our hotel, which, again, one option, but the hotels are from like the 1960s. It doesn't have any air conditioning. The beds are like rock hard, teeny tiny bathrooms. Like, we barely slept that night. I think my husband and I woke up at 1:30. We're like, should we just get ready? But so we were previously planning to start at 4:30 because we would start in the daylight. And we figured we could start in the daylight and end in the daylight and not use our headlamps. Well, those guys said, you probably should start. They started at 2:30 a.m. And they said, it's not bad to start in the dark. The parts you're going to want to see will be when the daylight comes up anyways. So you're fine to start in the dark. Plus you're getting more in the cooling and you can get to the parts where you need to beforehand. So we decided we would do 3 a.m. We would meet at the cars at 3 a.m., get over there and just start. So we ended up starting about 3:25, I think is the official start time. And it was freezing cold. Okay. So we were in jackets and we're like, let's just get started. It's dark. We have our headlamps. And the first thing that happens is one of my brothers didn't check his batteries and his headlamp died. And then the other brother didn't think we were going to actually use the headlamp, so he didn't get a very good one. He's like 6'4", and he didn't get one that turns down. It just goes straight ahead. So his was like shooting over 30 feet ahead of where he needed to look. So it wasn't really useful for him. So we kind of huddled up. They kind of stayed next to people that would help them with their headlamps, but got started down. And each of us sort of trained differently. I think the last podcast I recorded on this talked about the different training styles that we have. And I don't know. I'll talk about that at the end if I feel kind of like how I felt about my training and my thoughts on if you want to do this, what I think you should do for training. But the first part of this is straight downhill for 14 miles, we were told. 14 miles to Phantom Ranch, which kind of ends your downhill and then you slowly go back up. So I expected that it to be a trail, and people may call this a trail. I'm not an avid hiker, so maybe this is a trail, but it's like you walk, it's like maybe 3 feet, and then there's this shelf that they have to kind of build up with rocks so that it doesn't get washed out by the water. And then it drops down 12, 18 inches most of the time. Like it's not just a normal step down, like it's kind of jarring on your body to step down. And so and then in between that, they don't remove any of the rocks. You're kind of walking around big rocks and trying to navigate that. So luckily my hiking poles came in really handy for that. But it was really hard for me to look up because I felt like if I looked up, I was going to fall down because I didn't want to trip over something. And there's a cliff on your other side. So you are obviously really careful. It's dark. And so I just kind of took it slow and steady. And it ended up being way longer than we thought to get down to Phantom Ranch. My watch said 15 miles. We were anticipating 4. So I felt like I could kind of stop, look up, glance in the distance, look at the scenery, but then I kind of had to keep my head down most of the time to keep going. And the sunrise happened, I'll put the picture up here for sure, but I think it was like when it peaked over the mountain for us was probably around 7:30. I mean, it was light, but we didn't see the sun actually come up over and it was on us until that time. So we were sort of in the shade until that time. And then we got down to what they call the box. And it's supposed to be a super, like, you're kind of walking through, there's rocks on both sides of you. There's a stream going through. Had we gone through there later, it would have been really, really hot. But we were kind of getting through there at a point where it wasn't too hot to what we were expecting. But we had to get out our cooling rags. So we had these rags that were like you get them wet and they stay cool and keep you cool. So we got those out, got in the river, started putting those on. You can see a picture of me here in crazy get up. I didn't have a hat, so I wrapped it around my head and then I put one on my shoulders. And that really kept me from getting sunburned, kept me cool through the process, and felt really good. So we ended up getting down to Phantom Ranch later than we wanted to. And we were debating on whether to move forward. So Phantom Ranch, there's campgrounds along the way. Like a lot of people do this. You can get like a permit and for 6 days and like go from campground to campground and hike it and stay the night. The lady, when we were checking into the hotel, said only 1% of visitors actually do the whole rim to rim in one day or rim to rim to rim in one day. So we're part of the 1%ers that were able to do that. Got down to Phantom Ranch. It was pretty hot down there. They have kind of like a restaurant you can eat at. They have like a concession stand place where you can buy lemonade, where you can buy bags of ice to put in your camel packs. And the hardest thing, and the guys told us this when we started, was getting your calories in. Because when you're hot, you just don't want to eat. And they're like, eat your food early and then save your like gummies and goos for later, because that will be harder to get things in and you can just get quick calories that way. And I had heard previously people who had hiked this got down to Phantom Ranch. They're like, my peanut butter and jelly never tasted so good. I had to choke mine down. It was so disgusting. Every food that we had planned and packed was so gross. We didn't want to eat it. And so I was forcing myself to eat a sandwich. The lemonade tasted terrible, which everyone said, oh, you'll love it. It tastes so good. But I was like, I don't even, just give me the water. I just want cold water, because your water just heated up so fast. So for me, I had water in my camel pack, and then I had 2 water bottles on the side that I put electrolytes in. So I was switching back and forth. But the water in the water bottles with the electrolytes warmed up so fast as soon as you did it. So it was like drinking warm, hot electrolyte tea. Essentially, it was like burning your throat. It was so gross, but you just had to keep drinking it. And I was downing salt pills that had caffeine in it to try and keep going that way. So we get to the bottom. We had passed this group of people, probably like 10 to 12 people in their group. They were from like Illinois and Michigan or something like that, and hiking it together. But they were staying together as a group, which kind of slows you down a little bit. And we passed them. We got to Phantom Ranch. We sat down, and there was this other couple that we hadn't seen yet. I can't remember if they were just behind us or just in front. I think they were just behind us. Everything's a blur because I was just thinking, stay alive. Just keep walking, stay alive. And so we were asking them, okay, so I think it's about noon at this point. We are clearly into the 10 to 4. We're clearly going into the worst part of the hike where we start going up. There's no water. They call it the Devil's Corkscrew for a reason. And we were asking them, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to move forward? We had seen a ranger before that who gave us the biggest lecture of not moving forward, that this is terrible idea, and of course my brothers are like, we're fine, let's just keep going. And my husband's like, not wanting me to go forward because he knows, he's trained with me, this heat's going to drain me, and he knows he's going to have to encourage me along the way. So, we're tasking them. They said, well, we kind of have dinner reservations on the other side, so we want to keep going. We're just going to take it slow and steady. We're like, all right, well, we'll kind of go with you. We asked the other group. They're like, no, we're just going to stay here, and go through after 4:00. So there's a nice place you can kind of sit in the stream there. And so we decided, okay, we're going to go, but we're going to go sit in the stream for a minute. We're going to cool down. We're going to prepare ourselves, and we're going to go. Sitting in the stream was the best thing that we could have done. Like, my ankles just shrunk up. My hands shrunk up. It's like ice cold, like sitting in an ice bath. So painful, but felt so good on your body. Put new socks on. Of course, we're through the water, so then I have to re-tape my feet because I have to use all this blister tape. I haven't listened to the other episodes. I was getting major blisters until I found this blister tape. So it was saving my life. So I needed to redo that. So that takes a little bit of time. And you just felt so re-energized after that, like cooling down and taking in some calories and some water. Like, let's do this. So we get going, and not very far from Phantom Ranch, you cross the actual Colorado River. You're never close enough. You can hike down to it, but it's kind of a hike. And you can't really get into it because it has lots of rapids. And so things we were getting into were the creeks that were flowing into the Colorado River. So it has this suspension bridge that goes over it, and it sways side to side and up and down. If you've been in an earthquake, it feels just like that. Okay. And it is a metal grate below you, so you can see down below. So I'm walking across behind my brother, and so it is like shaking side to side and up and down, and there you can probably see this video of me walking across that my husband's taking of me from behind. I never look down once, and I have my hand on the side ready to grab myself in case this thing goes down. But you can't touch it because it's so hot. You can't even touch it. It's all metal. And so I just kind of have my hands to the side going across. We get across the other side, and it is just kind of straight up sand. Like, you're going straight up in the sand. And luckily the sand only lasted for maybe quarter mile, half a mile, but you're drying out fast. There's no water to get your cooling rags wet in. And we were probably a mile from Phantom Ranch, and our hot electrolyte tea is burning hot. We're just drinking it as much as we can. We're going up, and this Devil's Corkscrew is torturous. Any amount of shade that we could find, we would just sit down, soak in the shade, rest and wait. And short distances just seemed so long. you could see the next shade spot and it felt like it took forever to get to that next side. So it took us quite a bit of time to go. It's only 4 miles, supposedly, from from Phantom Ranch to Indian Gardens. And so every corner, my husband's like, oh, we're almost there. We're getting close. And my sister-in-law, Madison, was walking with me, and we were getting so mad at him. We're like, we're not even close. We're not close at all. And there's these rivers, creeks, they're not rivers, that when we got sort of to the top, probably a mile from Indian Gardens, I could be wrong on that, but it felt like forever that where we were without water, we were able to sit in this river for a second, kind of cool down, get our water, and then push up to Indian Gardens. And I can't even describe how life-saving water is. You know, in the scriptures talks about water is life, and that's a representation of the Savior. And we definitely felt that rejuvenation from water every single time. If there's any kind of comparison to that, to the Savior, it's that you could feel that strength and that power that water provided you as soon as you were able to drink it as cold water or sit in the rivers and just get kind of rejuvenated from that. So we were finally made it to Indian Gardens, which seemed like hours and hours and hours and hours. Got to sit in the river again, sit in some shade, kind of regroup. We were told it was 4.5 miles to the top from there, but this is like you're slowly going up in the Devil's Corkscrew, but from Phantom Ranch, or from Indian Gardens up to the top, it's like, I think 3,000 feet straight up. So it's like straight switchbacks. And so I'm already exhausted. I'm having a hard time getting calories in because nothing tastes good. And we're like, okay, my 2 brothers and my sister-in-laws were ahead of us, and my husband and I were back behind because I'm slower than everybody else. And so they said, okay, the last 1.5 miles, you're going to set the pace, Nikki. We'll finish together. So the next stop for us is about 1.5 miles up to what they called 3 Mile Shade House. The 3 Mile Rest House, I think is what it's officially called. So we get about 3/4 of a mile, maybe a mile up. We weren't very far from the shade house, and a miracle beyond miracles happens. We see clouds kind of coming in. We're like, it's like a 0% chance of rain. We're like, what are these clouds? And as soon as the cloud goes in front of the sun, it's like a 20 degrees difference. Like it just drops the temperature like crazy. And then all of a sudden we hear this thunder and this lightning, and it's so loud. And I'm holding like metal poles. I'm like, am I going to get struck by lightning? My husband's like, we're so far down here. It's not going to strike us down here. It's going to strike something up there. So I'm like, okay, you're the Boy Scout. I'll listen to you. And then all of a sudden it starts pouring down rain on us, which brings it down probably like 30 degrees, 40 degrees down. And it's soaking up our towels, and it just feels so good. There's a breeze going with it. Like this is 100% a miracle. 0% chance of rain. No like prediction of that at all. And it just pours down rain on us, which then helps the dirt because it kind of packs it down. And we get into the 3 Mile shade house, rest house place. And my brother has his jacket on because he's like, it's so cold. I'm like, I don't care. I love it. It feels so good. So rejuvenating. And it just was kind of re-nourishing to us. So there was another rest house, another 1.5 miles away, which then was supposed to be, so we're 3 miles away. So halfway point and then to the top. So we're going to meet up there. And it's just like one foot in front of the other for me. I am trying to, go as quick as I can. So I'm not holding everybody up, but I also know I can't gas myself and then be exhausted and pass out. My husband's walking on the edge so I don't pass out and fall off the edge. And I really think I would have been okay if it wasn't for the heat. The heat was really what was like taking it out of me. So we get to the last 1.5 miles, we regroup. I try and eat as much as I can. We I get in front of everyone and I'm setting the pace and I'm walking and I probably make it maybe a quarter of a mile. And I'm like, I am so exhausted. I just need calories. So we sit down, get me some calories. My brother, who's a firefighter, got at this tip from wildland firefighters to have hot tamales in a little jar. And so he had hot tamales and those things tasted so good. So weird, but so good. And those calories got me up. So we were hoping to finish in the daylight. We get probably a mile from the top and it's getting pretty dark. So I put my headlamp on. I'm in the front. I think I'm the only one that puts a headlamp on. But we can start seeing lights in the distance from our family members, like their cell phone lights. And then we can start hearing them yelling at us. We're trying to yell back at them, but they can't hear us because the wind is blowing at us. And so they couldn't necessarily hear us, but we could see their lights. And I just kept saying, they better not be like a mile down the trail and I'm going to have to hike another mile once we see those lights. So everything seems so much longer. It ended up being like 5.25 miles from Indian Gardens up. So it's so hard on your brain. Everyone's telling you like, okay, 4.5 miles. So you prepare your brain for this 4.5 miles and it ends up being 5.25 is so hard on your brain. You're just like, I have to go another 3/4, and you don't even know. Like, you're like, I'm at 4.5 miles. How much farther is this? And my husband just kept saying, it's around the next switchback. You're lying to me. I know there's more than one switchback. So we get to the top and there's like 2 directions you can go. So we choose the one that's like paved that goes up towards this art house kind of thing. And the other one's dirt. We didn't know how long each of them were. And of course, we chose the wrong one. Our families are down the other one ready to film us. But we get to the top, we see our family, and it's so amazing. And my brain is still like not registering that we're done. Like, I still feel like, oh my gosh, they're going to tell us like, we couldn't bring the cars here and the hotel's like a mile away, so you're going to have to walk. Like, it was just like, I couldn't even absorb it. I just wanted to sit down. My feet felt like they were breaking. They hurt so bad. It felt like my bones were breaking in my feet. They just were terrible. Like, but the miracle upon miracles again was I had 0 blisters. I had been training for this and getting massive blisters, like 2.5, 3-inch size blisters on the bottom of my feet that were getting infected and pushing back my training and terrible. I had 0 blisters from this situation. So completely a miracle. But even when I got in laying down and I was like, I just want to get to the hotel, lay down in the bed and prop my feet up, laid down, and our family had gotten us pizza because everything was closed. So they ordered pizza and it tasted so good. It was like, finally food tasted good, and had my feet up, but it just still felt like a dream. It didn't set in till for like 2 days later. I was like, oh my gosh, I did that. I really did that. That is so crazy that happened. And I finished that. But I felt the next day, my feet were not sore at all. My ankles were sore and my lower back was sore from like kind of hunching over the what do you call those? Hiking sticks. I thought my triceps were going to be sore because I was like pushing down on those things to help me up. But on the way up, you're like doing lunges because the steps again are so far apart. You're like lunging up. So of course my glutes are sore from doing so many lunges on my way up. And so we had to drive back like 4 hours from there in the car. And so every time you got out of the car, you're just stiff and so tight. But I would say that everyone, when I have talked to people about this, they've said, would you do it again? You know, what do you think about it? I would really like to do it in like October where it's really cool, and see how I could do without the heat. I felt like I prepared the best that I could with what I knew how to prepare for. I don't know that there's any preparing for the heat like that. I feel like we packed everything we could. We did everything that we could. Oh, and the people that stayed at Phantom Ranch in the river, they ended up finishing. So we finished at 8:30. We finished at 8:30, I think. 8:30 at night, and they ended up finishing at 11:30. So they were about 3 hours behind us. So I was happy that we pushed through, even though it took us a lot longer to get through. I was happy that we did. I don't know that I would want my family to be waiting till 11:30 at night for us up there and worrying and stressing. So I was glad that we pushed through and did that. But yeah, I think one thing that if you're thinking about doing this and you're wanting to do it, my sister-in-law and my husband weren't as sore the next day, a little bit sore, but not nearly as much as everyone else. And they are runners, like 6, 7, 8 miles at a time runners, And I think that being able to do that on their body, that pounding from the running, really prepared their bodies a lot more. So I think if I was going to do it again, 1, I would want to do it in October, and 2, I would want to kind of, instead of working on long distance walking, I would want to work on long distance running, just 6 or 7 miles at a time, and getting my brain in that mode of being able to do a long distance and my body being able to take that effect of that. But yeah, I think even afterwards, I'm like, what goal can we do again? It's such a good goal to set with my family and have that camaraderie again with each other in the training. That was so fun, and just kind of texting each other. We're already texting about funny things that we could. We had a group chat called Rim to Rim that we were texting each other on, and afterwards I changed the name of it to Mount Everest. We're not doing Mount Everest. We will never do that. But just thinking about other goals, other hikes we could do on. If you know of any cool hikes that's similar to Rim, I don't want to go out of the country and hike, and I don't want to stay the night anywhere. I just want to do it in one day, but kind of a long push like that. So not a short hike, but something that's kind of a push. So if you know anything like that, let me know. But hopefully this was fun listening to this. If you saw the pictures, hopefully that was fun to kind of see that. Not your typical episode, but I know some people are invested in my journey here, and I just wanted to tie up that journey for you. And if you haven't had the chance, go listen to part 1, 2, and 3 about my journey, and hear where it started, what I've learned, how we've pushed through with it, and things that have happened along the way. But reach out, ask any questions that you have too on social media, and let me know. All right. I hope these minutes you spent with me were meaningful, helped you feel inspired, and more confident. If you liked today's episode, check out the show notes for links to other episodes you might like too. And while you're there, in my show notes, look for the links to my website, social media, and free handouts for remembering how to implement the skills. Thank you for listening to the Meaningful Minutes podcast with Nikki Olson.